There's 75 million women in the US of A that are either perimenopausal, menopausal, or postmenopausal, and we think it's over. Look at Kamala. Look at our girl. She is killing it. Having the first menopausal female president will inspire millions and millions of women in the USA, including myself. What were you doing when you found out that President Joe Biden dropped out of the presidential race and he's endorsed Kamala Harris? Well, I'll tell you what I was doing. I was sitting on my sofa and reading a book. My 18-year-old who doesn't give a rat's ass about politics come running and say, Joe Biden's dropped out, Kamala Harris made it, and was so excited. Well, obviously I was very pleased and pleasantly shocked, and my whole body was electrified, not just because of the whole Kamala Harris, but also seeing this kid excited. And then the memes started. Of course, I couldn't understand any meme except for the coconut. I get that one because I'm from India. The North Indian version that I would get from my parents growing up, did you just fall out of a tree? Because in North India, we don't have coconut trees. So I totally get that one. But I didn't get the Kamala is Brad, and I didn't get the other. It had to be explained to me. Let's hear from Madam Vice President herself.
I really do. I love Venn diagrams. It's just something about those three circles and the analysis about where there is the intersection, right? Yeah, I see people.
Honestly, she sounds so sexy. She sounds amazing, and she's beautiful, like her namesake, Kamala Devi Harris. Kamala Devi means goddess who holds the lotus flower, meaning goddess of wealth, Lakshmi. I'm rambling. Sorry, I've joined the Kamala Harris fan club. Kamala Harris loves Venn diagrams, but we cannot compare her to a Venn diagram because that would be a very complicated 5-circle diagram because she is a first. She's the first women vice president of the United States. She's the first Black woman. She's the first Indian woman. She's married to a Jewish man. There's so many firsts there. But she's also the first menopausal woman. Let's talk about menopause. And I just wanted to read something that Hal Berry said. By advocating for my own health and well-being during menopause, I'm not only standing up for myself, but for all women. Let's hear what she said.
Why am I here? Well, first, I'm here because I'm standing up for myself. Because I know that when a woman stands up for herself, she stands up for all women. And all women go through menopause.
That's right. Thank you, Hal Berry. All women go through menopause. Menopause transcends boundaries, social, racial, demographic. It even transcends the gender boundaries because it's not just cis women who have a menstrual cycle and menopause, but it could be trans men. Men themselves have a transitional period called andropause. So what is menopause? Menopause meaning when the moon cycle stops. Men means moon or month in Greek, and pause means to stop. This term was coined by a French physician. See, men have a daily cycle. The testosterone, it's a 1-day, 24-hour cycle. Women have a 28-day cycle. And then you have cycle after birth, the postpartum cycle. Then there's the perimenopause, menopause. There's cycles and there are cycles within cycles. Doctors were not given enough training at one point about menopausal women. In fact, in Victorian era, the physicians called it women's insanity period. In the 1970s, 80s, they would think of menopause as a problem that needed to be fixed. Menopause is not a problem that needs to be fixed. It is a time when you need to find balance and you need different therapies, physical, lifestyle, behavioral, maybe supplements, meditation, and so on. In Vedic and Indian culture, the monthly cycle was called Ritu, and it was also related with the Chandra or moon cycle. Let's ask Dr. Mithun Bulega, Ob-Gyan Ayurveda practitioner, about what is perimenopause and menopause and exactly what happens during that time.
So perimenopause is when the period has not stopped yet, but the body is preparing to go into menopause. And this can last quite a few years. So it's not over in a year. So this can drag on. For each woman, it's different. And usually this starts when the female hormone levels start dropping. And there's no set time when it's going to start dropping. It can start somewhere in the mid-40s. Sometimes women go even in their early 30s, they can start. Usually some Pitta women may start early and some women may start actually later. So women can experience earlier than normal perimenopause and menopause. That's based on genetics, usually like the age of the mom of the woman. That kind of determines very often when you will go into perimenopause and menopause. Smoking is also known to push perimenopause earlier than usual. The symptoms of perimenopause, the number one symptom is irregular period, as the estrogen levels start fluctuating. So a woman who had normal, maybe 28-day cycle, suddenly the cycles go off. She goes 40 days, there is no period. And then she gets a period, and that's kind of a heavy 10-day kind of period. And then 20 days later, she gets another period. So this irregular period is one of the most important symptoms that bother perimenopausal women. In addition to that, they may also get some hot flashes, some mood swings. If you have not had a period continuously for 12 months, that's when we can say that the woman has gone into menopause. So the symptoms of menopause, in addition to not having a period, are hot flashes, vaginal dryness, insomnia, mood changes. Usually they're also retaining some fluid or putting on weight. What I want to just remind everyone is to keep in mind that this is a natural process. Just like when we were young and when we started our period, we didn't like it, we didn't want it, but we understood that this was a natural process of us moving on in the years. So similarly, this is the opposite. It's the body signaling that it's done with the reproductive function. That is all it is. So it is a natural process, and we have to keep that in mind.
And I remember you telling me, Dr. Mithun, we were having that conversation not long ago. We talked about not only is the estrogen dropping, but also melatonin, and all across the board, the hormones are being affected. So there's insomnia because melatonin is low, hormones related to anxiety, and so on. So you see symptoms related to insomnia, being hangry, mood changes, hot flashes, being impatient, cloudy thinking, shoulder pain, aches and pains, constipation or loose stools, energy levels go down, low sexual drive, lots of weight gain, sometimes ability to withstand heat or ability to withstand cold. The temperature differential gets a little bit hard. And these are just some of the symptoms. There are about 71 symptoms, if I'm not wrong, that have come in the latest research that are related to menopause. Now, one thing is that menopause is not a disease, it's a transition. Every woman goes through it. It's not something that needs to be solved. But yes, balancing is needed. And there are many, many interventions and many layers that are needed for these different symptoms that'll happen in different times or all together. Thank you, Dr. Mithun.
So I just want to show this picture here, which kind of shows us what's happening. So if you look here, after the age of 35 and up to the age of 55, there's this sudden steep drop of both the estrogen and progesterone, the female hormones. This is why that woman feels like she's just fallen off a cliff. Suddenly she was doing fine, and suddenly during perimenopause, she has fallen off a cliff. She doesn't know. The worst part is not knowing when the fall is done, like when she's going to hit bottom. She doesn't even know that because it's an indefinite fall.
Tell me about it. There's a laundry list of events that just doesn't stop. It's like a karmic curse. It's ridiculous. Dr. Mithun, can you also talk about testosterone? I know that women often think that estrogen or progesterone are the only hormones associated with their body, or that's the only hormone it makes. And actually, testosterone helps in the maintenance, repair of women's reproductive tissues, bone mass, and so on. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes, women also have testosterone, not as high as men, but we do. And that is responsible for some of the loss of libido, the loss of energy that women feel. In addition, if you look, melatonin, that's a hormone responsible for sleep, also falls off. So this is why that woman feels like she's literally going crazy. From an Ayurvedic perspective, this perimenopausal time is dominated by Pitta dosha. This means no matter what your predominant dosha was, Pitta is very active in this time, in your perimenopause. And in the menopause and post-menopause, Vata is dominant, meaning you could have been a Kapha woman, but in the menopause and post-menopause, Vata dosha is what is dominant. And how does that help us? That helps us because we know that Vata dosha is responsible for those symptoms, and appeasing or alleviating Vata we can help that woman through those symptoms of menopause. And similarly, during perimenopause, by soothing down the dosha, we can help women go through that perimenopausal period.
That's right. Let me add in some herbs that are suggested by Ayurveda, by TCM, and the Western perspective. In Ayurveda, we suggest Shatavari, Ashoka, Dashamula. The Western herbalists suggest black cohosh, red clover, yam, valerian, evening primrose, and TCM, angelica root or dongche, and I don't know if I'm saying it right, Romania? Sounds like Romania to me, but Romania. These are the two. Please ask your TCM practitioner or Western herbalist about those two herbs, because I am not a TCM practitioner. Since there are so many symptoms that are happening at different layers, all of these herbs, you just can't go and, buy them off Amazon and just start taking them. You need to go to a practitioner, because let's say your perimenopause lasts for 10 years. And right now, digestion is a big problem. There's constipation and energy is low. So tackle that first through diet, add more fiber to the diet. Maybe exercising is more important. Let's say the digestion becomes a little bit better now, insomnia has started. So maybe something like Brahmi. Brahmi not only tackles insomnia, but that brain fog as well. Maybe energy levels are low and that's your priority. So you maybe want to do ashwagandha for energy levels. All of them cannot be done all together. Sometimes in Western supplements, they will take every single herb that's good for menopause and make it into one supplement. That's not how it works. It depends on where you are. Even within perimenopause, there's a cycle. And what is the priority? And what is the layer you want to work on? So within 1 month, you can start off by taking something for insomnia. Maybe if you have low energy, you want to do ashwagandha, and so on and so forth. Balance for each woman is going to be different. There's so many other interventions: Ayurveda, TCM, exercise, meditation, yoga, qigong. We can't do all of them at one go. It has to be one step at a time. We have to decide, okay, this is a priority in my life. I really need to get a good night's sleep. Insomnia is my biggest problem. For someone, hot flash may be your biggest problem, and so on and so forth. So please see a practitioner, maybe an Ayurveda practitioner if you want to go and see if Ayurveda can work for you, or a TCM practitioner, or an herbalist. Maybe you want to go to your physician or gynecologist. Maybe you want to try identical hormones. Go to your clinician, go to your doctor, and take their help in making the decision that's right for you. Don't just go on the internet and decide, I'm going to do this. You need help. Please see a practitioner. I wish the government would provide more resources for menopausal women. And, there is an actual act that was introduced in 2024. Senators Murray, Murkowski, Baldwin, Collins, Klobuchar, Capito, and Tammy Baldwin have introduced new legislation on menopause. Finally, this bill is about boosting research, training, awareness, giving grants. They're going to give grants for research and support public health promotion activities. There's going to be a national public health awareness education and outreach program. They're going to try and improve professional training resources for healthcare providers. We need women politicians. We need women in the Congress. We need a woman president. We need Kamala Harris. They understand. Men cannot understand what we go through. Kamala Harris, we need her. She's going to help so many women. Like I said in the beginning, 75 million women are in the perimenopause, menopause, or post-menopause phase, and 13 million are going to enter every single year. Half the population of U.S. is going to be women, and this doesn't just affect not just cis women, I should say, but also someone who was born biologically as a woman but identifies as a trans man. So that affects them too. We need a woman president, period. She's going to help all women, whatever our race may be, whether we are Republican or Democrat. She understands. She's been through it.